I don't know about you, but I love sci-fi. I love sci-fi in general, sci-fi games, movies, TV, books, anything. And I really love simulators too, simulator video games. So when I find a good sci-fi simulator game, it makes me very excited. I always try to keep an eye out for stuff that's coming out, but more importantly, stuff that has been out for a lot of years or a couple of years that I missed because there's so many games and everything. There's so much media that it's really easy to miss stuff. So I always like to dig as deep as I can into the bowels of the internet to try and find as much gold as possible that's sitting behind me on the timescale while I look forward to the stuff that's coming ahead of me. And while I was digging around in the internet, I found a game about 3 or 4 months ago called Objects in Space. I had never heard anything about this before. I'd never seen anyone reference it at all, and I think I saw someone on a YouTube short talk about it for a little bit. So I checked it out, and it looked really, really cool, and I bought it, but didn't play it. A couple months go by, and I decide to, pick it up and play it. Hell, want to see what this is all about. I don't know what I want to play at the moment. Last 2 or 3 games that I've been playing have just, shit out on me, so let's try this Objects in Space. I'm down for a good simulator. And I did not anticipate loving this game as much as I do. It's pretty unique, and it's something that I think is not for everyone. It's kind of like a licorice video game, like a black licorice video game. It's an acquired taste. You either like this kind of thing or you don't, and I don't know if you're going to be won over to it, but I think you should be open to trying it if you've never played a game like this before. So what is Objects in Space? At its core, I'd say it's a space flight simulator life game, kind of focused on trading more than anything else. At least that's how they introduce you to everything, is through trading. But it's a game that uses very minimal graphics, and it has some 3D environments, but it uses mostly screens, and you're looking at different data screens and going through information and looking at a map as your ship moves along. There's no big Star Wars style windows on the front of the ship, and you're not looking out and seeing other ships with your eyes. You're not shooting lasers at people, and combat is really down to missiles and countermeasures, which is pretty realistic. At least it seems realistic for whenever we wind up going into space. But it's a kind of like a mix between The Expanse and the technology from the Alien movies. But there's no aliens. Just think of that 1980s idea of the future with analog technology. That's kind of what this game is, and that's what it feels like. Now, full disclosure, I have not beaten the game. I have, I have 14.4 hours in the game, which seems like, or may seem like a lot, but it's really not. And I've only had one ship so far. I know there are multiple ships, the inside of the ships is different and everything, but ultimately the screens that you have, the information panels that you use, the map that you use, they're all the same. It's just the layout that's a little bit different, so it comes down to aesthetics. But I have not really experimented much with combat. I have, however, been shot at a lot, because I started off doing trading, which is what they suggest you do. And you take contracts and you go from station to station or system to system within a group of systems that are linked together through like hyperspeed gates, like lightspeed gates, and or stations effectively. You get slingshotted to another system. But you can't go outside of these systems until you have a jump drive, which you do not start out with. Stuff can be very cheap in this game, like components that you need to maintain your systems within your ship, or even some commodities can be fairly cheap, but big ship upgrades and parts and other ships can be quite expensive. So the payout for jobs is seemingly low, at least at first, but if you stick to a thing, you'll wind up getting better at it and getting more contracts or more opportunities, more ways to make more money. And you could also just do traditional trading outside of contracts, like you buy something from a station that makes that thing and then sell it to a station that doesn't have that thing. And that always works in this game too. As a trader, you could stay legit and just avoid pirates using silent running, where you kind of turn all your major systems off and hope to Christ nobody sees you on a radar. But you could also go the more illicit route and smuggle stuff if you'd like. And I haven't done much with smuggling because each system has its own security people, and they cruise around the system looking for pirates and ne'er-do-wells, and they'll occasionally scan your ship, and if they find illicit cargo on the ship, they give you a pretty big fine. Now, that doesn't seem like a problem in some games, but for this one, you can basically you could meet the game over screen because you're in too much debt or owe too much money for one thing or another. It doesn't give you a traditional game over screen, but you could effectively lock yourself out and find yourself screwed with no way to get out. I did that once, but I did that not because of, smuggling or anything like that, but I was chased down by a pirate and didn't understand the whole silent running thing at first. I mean, I'd done that in, Elite Dangerous and stuff, but I didn't know I should or could do that in this game. The missile exploded near my ship and took out the entire back of it, so I just had to be towed to a station, which cost 2,000 credits. It was insane. Then I had to take out an 8,000 credit loan for the replacements for my ship. You have loans. There's a whole world going on in this game, and it feels very real and it feels very immersive, and I love that. Outside of trading, though, you could go with the combat route. You could do bounty hunting and look for these pirates, the pesky asshole pirates that happen to be everywhere, and you could blow them out of space and have them suck void and get paid to do it. That's always cool. You could apparently harvest organs, one person said. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't come across that at all, but I'm still very early in the game. 14 hours in, still very early in the game. And you could salvage stuff. You could get a crane on your ship, effectively, a crane arm, like a claw crane arm. And you could go out and find cargo that's just floating in space. People ejected it or whatever, and you could salvage that. You could salvage wrecks, do all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. There's a lot of options for what you could do in this game. Oh, and you could also do transportation jobs. You could pick people up and transport them from system to system or station to station, wherever they need to go. You have a lot of cool systems in your ship. The whole analog technology facet of this is something I love so much. Having grown up on the Alien movies and Star Wars and all that stuff, digital technology is cool, but it's pretty close to what we have today, and it's something that we may have in the future. People are trying to make more digitally based technology, like holograms and lights and all that stuff. But analog technology has this tactile aspect that I've always loved. I don't know what that is, but I've always loved that. So the way they went with this game is you have multiple monitors in your ship that show you different things. But let's say you want to check your mail. You have basically like an email system. You're out in the void, and you have two monitors that you'll see here in the gameplay, and one of them shows you whether or not there's mail to be downloaded from the net, effectively, because you have to do that. And you could either do that manually every time, or you could hit the download automatically button. But I like to do it manually because it's that tactile thing. You download any packages that you have, and then you go into your computer and type in mail. You have to run the mail command. It's nothing complicated. You just type in mail. And you wind up going to your inbox, and you could read stuff from different people. They have good tips in there. The developers even put actual gameplay tips. It's one of the first things you get. You could reference stuff that may have been helpful from the past. You could look at different contracts that you've done. It's just a good hub for all the stuff that you may need to know or may want to know. And you can reply to some people. You can have just let people know whether or not you're going to take a contract. Sometimes you'll get an email about private contracts and stuff. So it's a pretty cool little system they have there. But then you have your engineering deck, where it's all the layouts of your components for your ship and energy usage and stuff like that. Here is, I really love what they did with this, because you have these systems within your ship, and each system has a bunch of components that make that system up. And they will degrade over time, especially because the starter ship that you get it's kind of shitty, so the components that you have will degrade pretty fast, and they definitely degrade fast if you get hit by a missile or bump into an asteroid or, whatever. So as these things break down, naturally or otherwise, you have to go in there and unscrew the screen thing, open it up, and pull out that component, and then put in a new component to replace it. And so far with my ship, I've been getting components that were better than the baseline models that I've had. So I'm slowly kind of upgrading the ship as we go forward. But it's a really cool little hub area for that. Then you have your main navigational deck, I guess, where you have your map and different information of objects and people near you. You have your communication hub where people can contact you, radio you in, and you could have a live conversation with them there. You have cargo information, all this stuff. Everything you need to know to fly this ship is in front of you somewhere on the deck. And the way it's presented is just awesome because it's pretty realistic. If we had spaceships today like this, if we were capable of space travel, interstellar flight like this, there wouldn't be windows. It wouldn't be like you see in a lot of movies. You would have it's basically like a submarine. It's a submarine in space. And that's really what this game presents. That's the feeling that you get from this. And it can be kind of isolating, but it's also just pretty cool. It feels cool to operate the ship, and you feel like you know something. I don't know. You feel like you know stuff that some people don't know. You feel like you got a license or something to pilot this ship. And it's just cool. It's a cool feeling. I don't know, I could probably go on for hours about this game because it's been such a cool time. There's a lot of cool stuff to it. And I think if you're at all interested in space flight simulator games, space trucker kind of games that present a more measured and kick back and relax, for the most part, outside of when you're being attacked or accidentally flying through an asteroid belt, kind of experience, this is the game for you. And that's the other part, is it's all live travel and you don't have a fast forward button. So if you're going really far out, it's going to take a lot of time. I mean, I haven't measured it, but I can imagine it's at most, I think I've probably spent 30 minutes going from one place to another, just traveling through the systems. And I also have a starter ship, a starter engine. The stuff that I have is not the greatest, so I'm sure that'll improve as you go forward. But it takes time, and it's a game that sometimes you have to be all hands-on, and you have to be paying attention to everything that you're doing. But sometimes you can just kind of kick back and listen to a podcast while you play this game in the background, effectively. So it's a cool experience. It's something that I really, really, really like more than I thought I would. And I haven't really played anything else like it. So if that sounds interesting to you, I suggest checking it out. But if you do, let me know what you think. And if you don't want to for some reason, let me know what you feel about that too.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Give us a like if you enjoyed it, and dislike it if you didn't.
Let us know what you think about the channel.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Tell your mom.